Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers searching for WR trade. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in the hunt for a wide receiver, and according to multiple reports, they want to land one through a trade. Thoughts began to swirl when reports emerged that the Steelers were looking into San Francisco 49ers wideout Brandon Ayuk, only to be shot out of a cannon with Ayuk tweeting at head coach Mike Tomlin. This followed news from Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac, who said a bigger catch than now Jets receiver Mike Williams could be on the Steelers' radar. Now, his colleague, Ray Fittipaldo, has reported that the team is doing some homework on the wide receiver trade market. A group that likely includes Ayuk, Bengals T. Higgins, and Vikings Justin Jefferson. The Steelers are doing their due diligence with the trade market, Fittipaldo said during his weekly chat. The Steelers still have $15 million in salary cap space and could be looking to replace Deontay Johnson with a bigger name. They'd likely be giving up on their top draft picks in the process, but have filled enough holes in free agency to probably make that work. With general manager Omar Khan being aggressive this offseason, already trading 2 players and acquiring Justin Fields in a trade with the Chicago Bears, it appears anything is on the table for Pittsburgh, including a big-time trade for a wide receiver. Tim Benz: if there is any fire to the smoke about Brandon Ayuk, the Steelers should fan the flames. Trade rumors are kicking up about San Francisco star wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, and the Steelers are one of the rumored targets. Ayuk is coming to the end of his rookie contract, and he wants an extension. However, the 49ers don't usually hammer out contract extensions until July or August. It appears Ayuk may be drumming up trade interest so he can secure one quickly with another team via a deal, instead of waiting to see if the Niners will extend him before training camp. The 26-year-old is doing so by way of his social media activity. He started following Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence and some other Jaguars on Instagram. There was also a report on 1010XL radio that the Jaguars had discussed swapping a first-round pick and receiver Zay Jones to San Francisco for Ayuk. But those discussions fizzled out, in part because of the need to extend Ayuk beyond this year once the trade is done. Sources: the Steelers have looked into 49ers WR Brandon Ayuk. He's entering the last year of his contract. Steelers would have to execute a sign and trade. But they've shown interest. A few hours later, Ayuk tweeted directly to Mike Tomlin, asking if he thought they looked alike. Well, I think if Tomlin had answered that question, it could have been viewed as tampering, so it's wise that he didn't. Ayuk was a second-team All-Pro this year. He was 7th in the NFL in receiving yards, 1,342, and was second behind the Steelers' George Pickens in average yards per reception, 18.3, at 17.9. The 2020 first-round pick out of Arizona State also roasted the Steelers for 8 catches, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns in Week 1. If the Steelers were to acquire Ayuk, that would be their best acquisition of the offseason. Even better than Patrick Queen. Yes, even better than the flimsy $1.5 million needed to sign aging quarterback Russell Wilson, or the trade for Chicago QB Justin Fields. They should absolutely do it, even if the extension cost is hefty, and even if it costs a draft selection over the first 2 days of this year's draft and/or a player. Ayuk's cap hit is $14.2 million for this year, and the Steelers only have $15 million left. So there would have to be significant creativity on the extension. But if General Manager Omar Khan can make it happen, he should do so. Steelers projected to replace Deontay Johnson with historic draft pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers have selected 18 wide receivers since they last chose a wideout in the first round of the NFL Draft. But on March 19, ESPN's Mel Kiper predicted that streak to end. In his newest NFL mock draft, Kiper projected the Steelers to select LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. to replace Deontay Johnson. For new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith to really thrive, the Steelers should add a replacement for wideout Deontay Johnson, who was traded to Carolina, wrote Kiper. Thomas, who ran a 4.33-second 40-yard dash at the Combine, has a tremendous blend of speed and size, 6'3". He caught 17 touchdown passes last season, leading the FBS. Pittsburgh had just 13 total touchdown passes in 2023. Thomas and George Pickens could form an exciting pass-catching duo. The Steelers traded Johnson to the Carolina Panthers for cornerback Dante Jackson on March 12. Without Johnson, George Pickens is the only returning Pittsburgh receiver who had more than 200 receiving yards last season. On March 15, the Steelers signed veteran receiver Van Jefferson. But his addition shouldn't change Pittsburgh's other plans at wideout. Jefferson had 209 receiving yards with 20 catches in 17 games with the Los Angeles Rams and Atlanta Falcons last season. If the Steelers select a wide receiver in the first round, it will break a long day one draft drought at that position for Pittsburgh. The last time the Steelers selected a first-round wide receiver was Antonio Holmes in 2006. Offensive line and cornerback have been the most popular choices for the Steelers in mock drafts this offseason. Kiper slotted Clemson cornerback Nate Wiggins to the Steelers at number 20 overall in his mock draft on February 28. But it's not hard to see why Kiper shifted in his latest mock draft. After departing with Johnson, the Steelers have a giant hole at receiver. Jefferson recorded an 800-yard receiving season once, but that was 3 years ago. Excluding Pickens, the receivers currently under contract in Pittsburgh combined for 389 receiving yards in 2023. Therefore, making another type of offseason addition at receiver is near must for the Steelers. The consensus draft big boards at ESPN, Pro Football Focus, and Bleacher Report all have Thomas ranked as a top 5 wide receiver in the 2024 draft class. Bleacher Report also has him rated as a top 20 prospect overall. Presents an appealing combination of size, length, and speed with experience working inside and outside, NFL.com's Lance Zierlein wrote. Thomas will occasionally go through the motions as a route runner, but the bend, athleticism, and speed needed to get better are all in the toolbox. Thomas is unpolished but has projectable talent to become a WR1/2 in time. The LSU receiver posted 68 catches for 1,177 receiving yards during the 2023 season. He also averaged 17.3 yards per reception with 17 touchdowns. Thomas appears to be a logical fit opposite Pickens. But it's also possible the Steelers aren't done adding at wide receiver in free agency. The Steelers are set to host Mike Williams for a free agent visit this week, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Williams is coming off an ACL injury, but he's averaged 15.6 yards per catch in his career. Tyler Boyd is also a potential wide receiver target for the Steelers. The Athletic's Mark Kaboly reported on March 14 that the Steelers and Boyd were both interested in signing a contract. But then on March 18, Kaboly tweeted that the Steelers organization was not 100% on board with signing him. A big move for another receiver isn't off the table either. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac said on the March 18 episode of The Rich Eisen Show that the Steelers could be looking for a bigger catch at receiver. Any free agency addition at wideout could change Kiper's next mock draft prediction. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation Brian Thomas Jr.? Leave your opinion in the comments.